Hello everyone and welcome back to the inn. I'm assuming you're recording this time, right, Bob?
Yep, let me just double check. Yep.
Alright, that's a little bit of an in-joke for Bob and I. So, if anything, let's not
Last time I was
waste
streaming,
it.
they were in on it.
Oh no! This is fair. But then again, I edited most of that part out. Alright, so...
Wanted to bring this one in.
Yeah, fair. Let's just get right down into it. We'll start with Alligner. 7 cost, 7/7, Battle Cry. If you control 3 minions with 7 health, deal 7 damage to all enemies. That's possible with things like, going Aviana, Coon, and then Faceless Manipulator, the Coon, Faceless Manipulator, the Coon, double Star Aligner for 14 damage to all enemies in Wild. As far as standard side of things go, you gotta find something that's got 7 health to be able to just plop down on the board. Now, something like a mechanical Whelp could work, because you can just destroy it, get a 7/7 mechanical dragon on the board, and then just start going off with that. But it's just like, I'm more or less someone who looks for this card to be on the wild side of things. Standard side of things, it's going to be hard to find a place for Star Aligner to make its home known. Granting, it is a neutral, so I could definitely be wrong. Bold, do you want to throw something in here to kind of throw me a thing of anything?
7 cost 7/7, not badly statted, but not great enough on its own. It has to be 7 health exactly, not 7 or more, and that means that if you're trying to set it up beforehand, your opponent can try to screw you over by chipping away at your minion's health, which means it's a little bit more difficult to pull this off. Now, like anything else, the battle cry will include Star Aligner, so you just need 2 other minions with 7 health. But this is something very tricky to pull off, and to be fair, I'm really not sure if it's worth it to pull it off, even in Wild. Like, yeah, you could do an Aviana Coon deck that uses Star Aligner, but by that point, why not be playing Aviana Coon Togwaggle or Aviana Coon Malagos, or anything else? Trying to get 14 damage when you can get pretty much, I'd throw the rest of the spells that you're facing, the rest of my spells that you're facing kill you, seems like it's not worth it. So I really don't think Star Aligner is going to see very much play.
I was going to say, but Warrior having so much hell. I joke about that, but,
Anyway,
also,
next up we have Cybertech Chip, which is a 2-cost Hunter spell that says give your minions Death Rattle, add a random mech to your hand. So this is a cheaper Infest, which really didn't see a lot of play. I mean, I played with it. I was playing that type of deck anyway. This could be really good in a mech hunter deck, which we haven't seen enough from Hunter for me to go to say how viable it is compared to Paladin or Warrior, which I both think mech decks and they are very viable. Adding a random mech could be extremely strong, but really, and it's a good cost too, but at the moment this is up in the air as far as I think how good this depends on what else we see from Hunter. I think it's really I think it's a decent cost, but it's going to depend on you having a decent board to put this death rattle in, these death rattles on, 1, and 2, whether you want to play this card, especially seeing that Infest really didn't see anything ever. I think this is a borderline case. I'm not sure if it's going to stay or not.
I can agree with that, and at the same time, I can go, I think this would be better than Infest, because like you got a random beast from just about any daggone where. But with this, it's more or less a random mech. And right now, in Standard, we're going to have some strong mechs that kind of creep in and come from various other places. So Hunter could get like that warrior mech, the Barium Nullifier, and if anything for 2, with Hunter being the class that goes, aha, I flood the board with things and then just drop this down. Look at me, I'm going in and just getting all the mechs to my hand. But at the same time, I'm just like, you are correct. So it's just like, And I hate to admit it, but actually, hang on. Give your minions Death Rattle. Add a random mech to your hand. So if anything, like maybe on 5, if my opponent goes white on board, since this doesn't define, it says just give a thing. Like my mechs, Death Rattle, add a random mech to your hand. We could potentially see like Unleash the Hounds and Cybertech Chip to kind of refill that hand.
Yeah, but you could do the same thing with Infest too. I mean, this really depends on how strong Hunter is as a mech deck option. And I don't think we've seen enough from it at this point to really say, oh yeah, it's going to be incredibly strong. We've seen enough from Paladin and Hunter to say, Paladin and Warrior to say these are going to be very strong mech decks. But I don't think we've seen enough from Hunter at this point.
I will concede the point for now, and if anything, I want to look back at this at some point if we see more stuff tomorrow when it comes to Hunter and their stuff, because I want to get and gush about this next card of Pogo-Hopper. 2 cost, 1/1 mech for Rogue, Battlecry, gain +2/+2 for each other Pogo-Hopper you played this game. First thought, and if anything, I texted Bulb this. I told Bulb, I'm like, I'm building Quest Rogue Pogo-Hopper and you can't stop me. Because if anything, yes, this thing is a 2-cost 1/1. However, if you're able to pop that quest and you're able to throw in things like the Lab Recruiter to be able to spit more Pogo-Hoppers into your deck, and then just start drawing Pogo-Hoppers and just going crazy, that 2/2 on that little Pogo-Hopper that you planted down, which would be at this point, when you get your quest off, a 4/4, starts to just slowly but surely grow. 6/6, 8/8, and just keeps growing and growing. And you're just like, oh, well, this snowballed out of control very quick, and I'm just going to hit the concede button. Bulb, kick me in the balls and bring me out of my hype.
I think this is very strong. Thing is, by the time you had texted me, I had gone from a thing of, is this good to, well, this could be good in Quest, to going, oh yeah, let's put this in Quest Rogue. So I had come to about the same conclusion when you texted me. And I think the big question for Text Rogue, because you're going to hold this until after you can get your quest off. That way you can start at a baseline 4/4 instead of trying to use it to build your quest. Because at that point, the battle cry has been served completely useless. Completely useless battle cry. I guess the question is trying to figure out how much of your quest you can go off on without using your hand return minions or your hand return spells. Any of those hand return resources.
Mm-hmm.
Because you want to use the minimum number you can. That way you can set up so you can get the quest off, and that way you can potentially also use those on Pogo-Hopper to then just put Pogo-Hopper back on the field a bunch. Of course, you will be using Lab Recruiter and all that stuff. So I think this is incredibly viable, incredibly stupid. I do think that Quest Rogue might use this, might pick this up and just run with it. No, guys, Quest Rogue is never going away. This is why.
Yeah, and for many other reasons, because
yeah.
there's a chance.
But it's nice that there are varying flavors for people who want to try various different things in Quest Rogue, and I think Pogo-Hopper Quest Rogue could be an extremely viable way to run with this deck. So, how that works out when we...
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so next up we have Omega Assembly, which is a 1-cost warrior spell that says Discover a Mech. If you have 10 mana crystals, keep all 3 cards. I'm just going to say meta-defining right now. This thing is nuts. You can use it early on just to get a mech, just so you have a mech with warrior, with mech warrior. But I think what you want to do is you want to try to hold on to this as long as possible, so that later on in the game you can just get 3 mechs. I think this thing is nutty. I love it. I absolutely love it. Like, if there's any question about, well, will you be able to play a mech warrior deck? Yes. Yes. The answer is yes. Up to this point, we've really only seen, like, 2 cards, that warrior cards, and go, well, maybe, it just depends, and then Omega Assembly, yes, and then the other stuff we're going to be saying, yes, absolutely, Mech Warrior is going to be a thing. I'm going to be playing it. I love this card. We're going to be seeing it. It's meta-defining. Enough said.
You know, if anything, if I didn't know any better, because of it being a 1-cost, I'm looking at this and I'm going, this could be the start of, like, that Baku mech warrior deck. It would be, interesting, but at the same time I'm going, no, because, like, I want to dead man's hand this sucker and just put it, like, 2 of it back into my deck. That way I can just continue and just keep getting more and more and more.
Thanks for the idea, Ed.
You're welcome, buddy.
You know I'm going to do it now.
Yeah.
It's like your new dream deck is going to be Pogo-Hopper Quest Rogue. Me, I'm going Mech Warrior.
Oh, buddy, if anything, I've got so much experimentation to do when it comes to this. So, if anything, Omega is simply incredibly good. Just, like, this is something that you're going to want to run in your warrior decks. So, don't sleep on this card. Definitely keep an eye on it this upcoming meta, and we'll see where it goes. Next up, we have Gloop Sprayer. 8-cost 4/4 Druid with the battle cry of summon a copy of each adjacent minion. I still have a bit of, like, wild looking at this, and I'm just going, I can go Aviana. I can then go Coon, Matago, or Coon into my 5-cost 2/4 that summons a copy of a summon minion. Then Malygos, get my 2 Malygos, and then just Gloop Sprayer. But at the same time, it's like that just fills my board with 1 more Malygos, and Gloop Sprayer's in my way. But it's just like, no. So now I have to kind of bounce back to standard and look at this and go, wait. If anything, this thing can be used in a deck because of 1 card that has been printed that we'll be discussing that is super freaking busted and super boosted.
That's later on. Broken.
Yeah, it's broken at this point, and because of how nutty it is, just I'm gonna shove Gloop Slayer to Bulb or Sprayer and just go Bulb talk.
I mean, I really think you can make an argument. Well, maybe you can maybe put this in Token Druid to fill up board more, but I think it's just too expensive. I think this definitely probably would go into a big Druid deck to just get more big things. You just keep your positioning in mind. Boom, 2 more big things. Boom, right there. Just threaten your opponent. Yeah, this thing's nasty. Will it see playing Big Druid? I don't know. It depends on whether they think it's worth it, or whether they just want to play more big things. But it is an option for them if they just want to copy some of the big things they have in play. So this is very strong. There's also a very strong potential combo piece with Malygos, but I think it's too expensive in a Malygos Druid, so probably not. Maybe you pull off something in Wild, like you're saying, but I don't think you're going to use Ixalit for that. Or even at that point, it may not even be needed. So I think maybe people will find a niche for it, but I think so. If so, it'll be like in a big deck. We'll have to see what happens.
Definitely.
So next up, we have Crystology, which is a 2-cost Paladin spell that says draw 2 1-attack minions for your deck. Very good for aggro Paladin. Maybe. I think. If so, that's who's going to use it. That's about all I have to say.
I look at this and I go, alright, it was draw 2 1-attack minions from your deck. Depending on what 1-attack minions I want, I mean, there's like the new legendary from this set, there's the upgradable bot that came from this set, there's Righteous Protector, there's Stonehill Defender that you could get. Yeah. I can see this being experimented with, but as...
I think you're where I am. You're going, I can see it being played, but I don't think it will be.
Yeah, because it's just like...
Like, you're giving it the benefit of the doubt. Like, they can draw, and then you're going, no, it hasn't worked before. The one that allowed you to draw, like, 3 1-cost minions. Yeah, if this is 1-attack minions, I don't think that's going to work out.
Yeah, Small Time Recruiters didn't work out at all.
I mean, there's a difference between 1 cost and 1 attack, but a lot of times they're going to equal out to pretty much the same thing, so I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, I'm trying to give this the benefit of the doubt because it's just like...
What I just call, we don't think it's going to see play.
Experimented and then gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
Next up, we have Boommaster Flark. He is the Hunter legendary. 7 cost, 5/5, with his battle cry of you get to summon 4 0/2 Goblin Bombs. And the Goblin Bombs, they are a collectible because they do have a common gem to go along with them. The Goblin Bombs are a 1-cost 0/2 mech with the Death Rattle. Deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. So let's start with Flark. Because on 7, this thing, just kind of like dropping down, you're potentially looking at like a new Dr. Boom, in a sense. Because it's just like I come down, I drop in 4 of these little bombs, you gotta deal with them. And because of the bombs themselves, if you do something in Wild like Feign Death or like Play Dead, you can make it to where all these death rattles go off at once. Or in the standard side of things, if you're playing to this, you can go Flark on turn 7, and then on turn 8, you play Primordial Drake, just doing 2 damage to everything. The Goblin Bombs pop, they fly at your opponent's face, and you just go, you just took 8 damage. Deal with it. So, if anything, when it comes to Hunter and Mechs right now, I do think this gets at least a test run. And gets definitely test played. As far as it sticking around, it depends on how Hunter goes about its ways in this new metagame. We know that it's running a Death Rattle Hunter-esque shell right now, and there's also the fact that it runs Spell Hunter as another deck in the meta. So, Bulb, I'm kicking this in your corner. Go.
Maybe I should unmute myself first. First, let's start with the Goblin Bombs. Let's just get this over with. They are a worse Leper Gnome. And Leper Gnome's pretty bad with being a 1-1 right now. Where really it just needs to be moved to wild and become a 2-1 again. They're pretty much a Leper Gnome where you can't attack or do anything with them. They take up space. And let's get to the take up space thing with Boommaster Flark. It's a 7 cost 5/5 that summons 4 0/2 Goblin Bombs. Let's count this out. 7 mana, get a 5/5, and 4 space fillers. That fills up most of your board. You can't attack or do anything with the Goblin Bombs. And what made Dr. Boom so strong when he originally came out in Goblins vs. Gnomes was the fact that those Boom bots could attack. You could actually run them into things. Yes, they would try to maybe sometimes get rid of the Boom bots because they were a threat, but you could run those Boom bots into enemies and have them go off if they were ignoring the Boom bots whatsoever. In fact, most of the time your opponent was trying to get rid of Dr. Boom rather than the Boom bots. The Boom bots were a threat, but your opponent wasn't always going right out of their way to kill the Boom bots. You just ran the Boom bots into things. These are 4 Goblin Bombs that don't do anything. You take up most of your board space in one turn, and 4 slots of it is absolutely useless this turn. So if you're Hunter and you're trying to fill the board and trying to play a board-centric game, which is what Hunter wants to do, you're not going to be able to do this. And if you want, if you are trying, this fills up your board for later turns, and it's going to make that Primordial Drake play a lot testier. You almost have to leave the space open so that you can just try to blow up your own bombs. And at that point, is it worth it for the 8 damage? Maybe, I don't know. And it feels like some of the other Hunter cards we've seen. One we've talked about in Cybertech Chip. The other one, which we haven't, in Fireworks Tech. Really, it looks like the whole purpose of these are maybe to help make the Goblin Bombs more viable, which means to get the most out of them, you have to wait until after you've played Flark. And again, at that point, remember, you have limited board space just to make the Goblin Bombs somewhat threatening. I don't know if that makes them better. And then, yeah, sure, you can use the Goblin Bombs as a base to attach magnetic mechs attach some mechs to them. Just use them as a base form. But again, remember, you may not have the room to do it because you might have just filled up your board, which is going to make it very difficult for you to attach the Spider Bomb or anything else to just make those Goblin Bombs a little bit more threatening. And again, the question is it worth it? I just don't think it is. I think Boommaster Flark summoning 4 with the Goblin Bombs being unable to do anything. Like, if they were 1-2 Goblin Bombs, or if you had... Yes, Hunter does have some ways to set them off. But again, you'd be devoting most of your Death Rattle activating cards just to try to set up these bombs after turn 7. And there are several of these which are attached to minions. Several of these abilities are attached to minions. And again, is it worth it to cube a bomb to target the bomb with your Death Rattle activating minions? And as far as spells, we only have Play Dead. Would you rather play Dead that, or play Dead a Goblin Bomb, or play Dead another Death Rattle minion? I just don't think these Goblin Bombs are worth it. I think that the Goblin Bombs by themselves are not going to see play pretty much in any deck. Not just any mech deck, but any deck whatsoever. And Boommaster Flark, I think, splitting your board essentially with Goblin Bombs that can't do anything, I just don't know if it's worth it. And I just don't know if it's good. I think if Hunter wanted to go with the I'm going to have a Death Rattle do 2 damage to your face, they'd be going with Leper Gnome, and they're not. So that makes me think they're probably not going to go the Goblin Bomb route anyway, so I think this card might be dead in the water. Next up, we have Eternium Rover. Eternium Rover is a 1-cost 1/3 warrior mech with the effect whenever this minion takes damage, gain 2 armor. So, yeah, kind of this along with Omega Assembly by itself, I think is enough to just say, yeah, warrior is essentially the mech class this expansion. I think by itself, this is very strong. You played early in the game, you're at least likely to gain at least 4 armor, if not more. We've seen that even if you play it later on in the game, something like Acolyte of Pain is still a decent choice to gain 1 or more cards. So using it just to gain 2 armor at a later point in the game is good. You play this in conjunction with your Armor Smith, you're gaining at least 4 armor when this thing takes damage. This is very strong. This is a very strong early gameplay and just a very strong later gameplay for a warrior deck, especially after you played Dr. Boom to just run your Eternium Rover into something and gain armor and do some chip damage. I think this is very strong. I think this is a meta-defining deck for warrior.
It very much is, especially like during the early game. So it's just like you drop this in and it's like, oh, I'm going up against Baku or something along those lines. So you can just take it, you just bump those little ones. You're getting 2 armor from it each time, so it's just like, I get to have control. Yes. So I really do like it. I think this is something powerful that you put into your warrior decks, and you just take it and you run with it. So, next up, we have Mechanical Whelp, 6 cost, 2/2 mech, Death Rattle, summon a 7/7 Mechanical Dragon. Eesh. Alright, so Hunter, if you want to play Dead with this, you're getting a 2/2 and then a 7/7. And you go, or at least your opponent gets to go, because of it being on board. I think that's gonna be useful, especially if your opponent decides to go, I'm gonna play Doomsayer, and you've got nothing to do after this turn. Hold my Mechanical Whelp. So I think this sees some play in some mech decks. Bob, what do you think?
Oh, I definitely think it sees play. I mean, at the beginning it's very weak, but I think the Death Rattle getting a 7/7 Mechanical Dragon, which is going to be a mech as well, is incredibly strong. I think the only question is going to be whether you're going to leave this alone or magnetize things to it before the Death Rattle, or are you going to do it after the Death Rattle? So it gives you a lot of options. In Warrior, after you play Dr. Boom, you can run this 2/2 into something, hop out a dragon, and attack again. So, I mean, this is a very strong card. I think, and just in non-mech decks, this could be incredibly strong. But I think in mech decks especially, you're probably going to consider running this card. I think it's just a very strong option. Next up, we have Fireworks Tech. I touched on it before, but I wanted to go more into it now. Fireworks Tech is a 2-cost 2/1 Hunter minion with a battle cry, give a friendly mech +1/+1. If it has Death Rattle, trigger it. Now, again, we still have, at the point of us recording this, we have 6 more Hunter cards to be revealed. Depending on what gets revealed, this could be incredibly strong. But if the whole point, as I suspect, is to try to set up Boommaster Flark plays with the Goblin Bombs, then the whole point of this card is to basically make it so that the Goblin Bomb can actually attack, and triggering the Death Rattle, I think it's rather weak. Because, again, the whole point is, if you have to have cards besides Flark or the Goblin Bombs just to make the Goblin Bomb type Hunter deck viable, it's not very good. And I don't think Fireworks Tech is good in that regard, if that's its only real purpose. Now, if there are other mechs with Death Rattle that Hunter runs with, if they're going for like a Death Rattle mech deck, I think Fireworks deck is actually pretty strong. But otherwise, I think this is weak and it's a bad excuse to run any sort of Goblin Bomb deck in Hunter, because I don't think it's that good.
I think, if anything, I would, instead of looking at it in just a standard perspective, I would look more towards Wild. Because Wild has more of the Goblins versus Gnomes cards to kind of play around with. And having it there, alongside like Magnetize and things like that, gives it more room and more of a home, so to speak. So I think this could see play over there, but as far as standard goes, we've still got, as like we said, as of this recording, we've still got a little bit to go. Plus, if anything, I don't know if I would want to play it on the Flark or look at Spider Bomb as something I would want to go, and I'm going to play this on you, and, you know, destroy one of my opponent's minions to keep control of the board, and just keep going face some more.
Well, that's the thing. As of right now, there's only one Hunter-specific Death Rattle mech that I would say is actually viable with it. And
Yeah.
looking at it from that perspective, that's not putting the Hunter mech deck in a very good position.
This is fair. However, I'm going to shift gears and talk about Eureka. 6 cost Shaman spell. Summon a copy of a random minion from your hand. Alright, so we could potentially see this go into, like, if someone wanted to run a Malagos Shaman, which can be a thing. Or, realistically, I have no idea where Eureka would go after that. I can look at Wild and say, maybe something there. But standard Bulb.
I've been messing around mainly because I'm really anticipating losing that bet at this point. So I've been messing around with the idea of even Elemental Shaman or play in September. This may be a card I consider playing in that, because this will allow me to put a copy of a bigger elemental on the on the board just to have board presence and help just threaten. You may, being an operative word, decide to play this in like Overload Shaman to get some of those bigger minions, get a copy of one of those bigger minions on the board, just boom. But to be fair, this may just not have this may not be a card you put in the deck. This may just be a card that you want to get from randomly from Hagatha, from the Frog, from the Cauldron, from Runespear. So this may not be a card you put in a deck. This may just be a card that you want to get later from one of your other cards that are seeing play is much more viable. So I don't think I can really think of a home for this deck. For this card, but I think that this might be something you just will be glad to use if you randomly get it, and I think in that regards it's kind of strong. But I don't really think it has a actual home where you actually put this. Next up, we have the Boomship. Boomship is the Warrior legendary spell. It's a 9-cost spell that summons 3 random minions from your hand, and you give them Rush. I don't really see how this is going to be useful in the Warrior mech deck we've been talking about. Because if you're playing Dr. Boom, your mechs probably already have Rush by this point in the game. Plus, you want to be free to actually magnetize and control your minions in that way. Which minions get attached to other minions. How they work in conjunction in that way. So I don't think the Boomship is strong in a, let's say, a mech deck. However, I think if you're playing Recruit Warrior or Big Warrior, where you're just wanting to summon big things and you're trying to set up the board in that regard, the Boomship is incredibly strong. Summon 3 big minions and they kill things on your opponent's board and just stare at them. I think maybe Recruit or Big Warrior might be where this finds its home, not so much in Mech Warrior or Taunt Warrior or any of the other. I think that's where it's going to find its niche if it gets played at all. I think it has a really cool animation, but I just don't think this goes into a Mech Warrior deck. I think this goes into Big Warrior.
Yeah, I completely and 100% agree there. Because it's just like, you look at this and it's just 3 random minions from my hand and they get rushed. Okay, and if I want to, I can copy it with Dead Man's Hand and just kind of feed it back into the deck, along with other minions, to just do this again if I want to. So, if anything, like, this could be seen in Standard, and this can be seen in Wild. Just depends on how and what you want to go about with it as far as the Boomship goes. However, if anything, that is all we have time for this episode of the Traveler's Inn. So, if anything, if you agree with us, disagree with us, let us know what your thoughts are on any of these cards that we have reviewed. And if anything, we will see you guys next time.